Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. This is going to be my update discussion video on the latest Power Rangers news about the Netflix reboot being cancelled and Power Rangers' uncertain future and Hasbro's relationship with it. So we're going to start off by talking about some leaks that have come out about the situation behind the scenes. Some of it just kind of enhances information we know. One of it I'm going to consider kind of like a rumor, kind of like I would rumors about reboot plot and stuff, because I don't know the person that said it. I'll bring that up later. But these first rumors do come from Josh, aka Living Ranger Key, who's, reliable. He gave the leaks about the Lightning Collection, and, he was once my son, so I'm going to trust it. And it lines up with some stuff we know. So he first had a tweet that said, "With today's news, I feel comfortable sharing that in July of last year, right after I leaked the ending of Lightning Collection, I got more DMs from sources than ever," which we know is the villain from Charmed, I believe. "Learned Brian Goldner's purchase of the brand, and E1 apparently was done without consulting R&D, research and development. The company never wanted PR." So that, of course, lines up with a lot of fan outrage. And then he then shared some screenshots from some conversations, some receipts. I'll read those now. For PR, there's been significant confusion and disagreement on what to do with the brand. One proposal was to cancel the live-action series and switch to animation, fixing the problem about rotating casts. I almost read that as roasting casts. Research also found the core audience of 5 to 7-year-olds focused more on the color of the Rangers, so it would probably help if the Rangers were the same like how Bruce Wayne is Batman. Lastly, buying Power Rangers in E1 was done without checking with Hasbro's research department, which we just talked about. After the deals were in place, some at Hasbro spent months working through the details and trying to post facto justify the purchase decisions. So a lot to unpack. First of all, I feel like the weird logic of they focused on color, so we need to make them the same character, is, I feel like those are opposing ideas. If they're only focused on color, maybe the Red Ranger will be their favorite every time, even if it's a different character. But I think maybe what they're getting at is the idea of having more regular characters, like if they were to stick with Power Rangers, stick with mmpr, just always have Jason, Zach, Trini, Billy, Kimberly be the characters, which would make a lot of sense, to be honest. I think it would be a lot easier for audiences to follow, and, they're the iconic ones, but those ideas sounded weird. But that feedback, if it's true, again, saying they only focus on color, so we need to make the characters the same, just reminds me of the, parodies of feedback you get from research and development, like in the iCarly episode where they just research and develop and focus group the show to all hell until you get, Zebo, the dinosaur, in there. Anyway. So that's interesting. The other thing I wanted to talk about too was, I guess, somebody that knows Josh, I can't remember who said it in the comments, somebody in the comments provided me their names, like Mr. Cooper 92. I have no idea who this person is, so I don't know if this one's reputable. I don't follow a lot of the fandom so much anymore because I'm not a big fan of a lot of the Twitter fandom, so take this with a grain of salt. But after Josh was leaking, and apparently he knows Josh, he was saying that he had heard that after, Brian Goldberg passed away, I don't know if it was actually after, but it seems like it got worse, and, they didn't want to deal with the brand so much anymore. Some people that got put on it saw it as like a punishment brand and were kind of resentful of having to be on that brand. And so they said that there was some purposeful QC issues. Again, I don't know how true that is, because when fans are saying that, they're doing it on purpose to kill it, that sounded outlandish. But, it's possible now, I guess. Although, I'm not sure. I think it would more be like they're not doing their job as well, or just, phoning it in. Because I can't imagine they go into the factory and be like, "Oh, I'm going to change this one little thing." And also, I think a lot of the early issues, in the first year or so, maybe two, I don't think that was going on, just because a lot of the issues the Lightning Collection did have in terms of QC issues with, little paint mistakes or whatever, was stuff that we were seeing and still see in Hasbro's other lines. That's why I always found it to be a little bit annoying, because fans acted like Power Rangers was being targeted specifically when I would buy a Star Wars Black Series figure that had the same problems. So it's kind of a Hasbro problem. So I'm not sure how true that is. I definitely could see people seeing it as a punishment brand and not wanting to be on it because of the public perception of PR, and likely because it's a lower tier priority. I think that's very unfortunate. I'm going to make another video that I'm going to shoot later, and it'll come out tomorrow unless there's some other breaking news, kind of talking about the perception of PR as a brand, because I think that that's come up. But I could totally buy that. I think that's very unfortunate. If that's true, whether they purposefully sabotaged or simply just didn't do a good of a job because they saw Power Rangers as a lesser brand, as something they didn't want to work on, that's unfortunate for the brand and unfortunate for the perception of PR. However, I don't think that people should be doing that. When you're on your job, that's just not professional to do something like that. However, I do think fans will often have unrealistic expectations that it seems like they want everybody from the CEO to the person getting the coffee to be a passionate Power Rangers fan, or this goes for any brand, and I think that's unrealistic. When people say Hasbro doesn't care, Disney doesn't care, whatever, The fact is, a lot of the times the corporate suits aren't going to care, and I think that fans need to accept that people working on the brand aren't always going to be as passionate as fans, which is probably a good thing because they get a little bit weird and obsessive. But you know what I mean. It's unrealistic to ask everybody to work on it to be a big fan. I think that the people you want to be putting the most effort is the people actually making the show, like the showrunners and those people. I'm okay with the suits not caring about Power Rangers in a passionate way, so long as they can put the effort in to get the product out there. But I think fans will often have unrealistic expectations, you know, even down to stuff like, oh, this person writing the show never watched it, or recently like an Acolyte actor messed up saying Anakin instead of Luke, and whether he truly doesn't know or messed up, who cares? I don't care if the person playing the character is seeing the show or not. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but it is called Rambles after all. Shed some slightly new light on it. Now, I don't think that like every single person that worked at Hasbro or worked on the brand hated it. I don't think it was so simply Brian Goldberg or Goldberg. Am I just thinking of the show The Goldbergs? He's going to be called Brian Goldberg regardless for the rest of this review. But I don't think he was the only person that cared. I can't imagine that an entire corporation, there wasn't other people. And you could see when Hasbro first brought it that there was legitimate effort put into it. Remember that huge like Beast Morphers display? It really felt like an exciting and new time. So I'm sure that there was other people. And the thing about like not running it by R&D seems weird too, because they make it seem like he bypassed the whole company, but R&D's just kind of like, not focus group, but you know what I mean? That's kind of like their testing like what's going to be viable and stuff. It's not like he bypassed the board of directors or something. So I don't think it was as rogue as it's seeming. But in a lot of ways, this just kind of clarifies some details of what we already knew and we've already been talking about, which is that before he passed, there was a kind of plan and at least somebody wanting stuff to happen. And then of course, after he passed away and then the pandemic, everything just kind of fell apart. And then by the time the dust settled, the people in charge didn't really want to have to deal with it, which is why they kind of let it wind down. Probably why they started to outsource, I'm going to imagine, you know, the crappy plastic of those waves that broke. And then now they're just going to outsource the toys to Playmates and outsource the show to wherever it ends up. So that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's kind of new information, but it kind of just clarifies details of stuff that we already know. The thing that I find interesting is how similar this is to Disney in a way. Like, it's different and yet it's similar, just in the sense that neither Disney or Hasbro as a whole had like huge ambitions for Power Rangers outside of this Brian Goldberg guy. But they still had it going. The thing that's funny about Disney though is that it was similar and not. Like, they didn't care. I mean, see, the thing, I hate that it doesn't care, because it's like they didn't care means they cared about it making them money in some form, and they saw that they could do that, and that's kind of what Hasbro is doing, like with this outsourcing, like we need to get any kind of money we can. But they're not caring like we want to make this the next big thing. But Disney like didn't care about making PR happen. They didn't care like we're going to do a relaunch, a movie, whatever. But they let it go on their autopilot, and it's crazy that like Disney putting the bare minimum in and just kind of letting PR like wind up and go was one of the best eras in my opinion. Like, not only some of the best seasons for me and some of the best quality, you know, I was talking about some other recent videos like the stunts and stuff, getting people impressed on Twitter from the Disney era. And also, it was basically the whole Jetix network. Like, it's crazy that like they didn't care about PR and making it happen, but the whole Jetix network was basically Power Rangers. You know, the big new promos for the new seasons, for the debuts, the marathons, the Tommy Trilogy Marathon, I'm Davis. That's kind of crazy, the difference there, where they kind of let it go on effectively bare minimum, and it still had a very decent presence. And the people that made it, very much so, cared about making a good show. Not that the people that were making some of the Hasbro stuff didn't, but that's kind of fascinating. But I think that's about it for this one. You know, it's unfortunate that this does give some slight validity to the idea that Hasbro was doing, like, not fully tanking it on purpose, but certain aspects may have been, which is just annoying because, you know I can always seem very jaded in these videos, but I am so just over so many fan cultures. There's just so much like needless fan outrage nowadays, and it's hard to, that's why like when there's actual legitimate complaints or complaints with validity, they get drowned out by the crazies. You know, you can't go anywhere nowadays without seeing they hate fans, they're attacking fans, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. And the thing is that I think the truth in a lot of these situations is somewhere in the middle. And I'm just exhausted between this and the Star Wars fans. Anyways, guys, what do you think of the situation? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for all my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.